Hey friend, welcome to my channel karinealourde, where we deep dive and break down the most iconic stars in history. If you're not yet subscribed, please be sure to do so and turn your notifications on so you never miss an upload. Now let's get into this video. Today we are talking about, to me, the most beautiful starlet ever. I just think she is so gorgeous. Oh my goodness, just look at her. Look at her, from her afro to her smoky eye to her skin, her height. Everything about her is just so gorgeous. We're talking about Teresa Graves.
You are the apple of my eye, forever you'll stay in my heart. The sun keeps shining through the falling rain. Can't see the faces, only the shadows of their eyes. I feel like this is the beginning. Though I've loved you for many years. Baby, 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 be strong.
She was one of the most popular Black actresses in the 1970s. She was also a beautiful woman whose name popped up in conversations about the most beautiful women of that decade. And according to historians, Graves was the only Black actress to lead a network drama series until Kerry Washington did with ABC's Scandal hit show. Yeah, she was doing it before the girls, but it's sad that it took that long for another Black female to lead their own show, right? That's crazy. But this is another story about a beautiful young starlet full of promise that walked away from the industry and never looked back. She died tragically, and I will get into that. Probably one of the saddest deaths that I've ever covered on this channel thus far. Wow, just broke my heart when I read how she died. But she also died without anyone, none of her neighbors or anyone knowing who she was or how famous she was. She wanted it that way. She didn't want people to know who she is or what she's done. For those who don't know, she was an American singer and actress and is best known for her performance as an undercover cop in Christy Love on the ABC crime drama series Get Christy Love. Now they had a movie. It started with the movie Get Christy Love, and they turned it into a show because it was so successful. And the movie is here on YouTube. You guys can look up Teresa Graves Get Christy Love movie. They have it out here on YouTube. You will enjoy it. It's in color. Don't worry, it's not black and white. And the fashion, the hair, the makeup, the sass of it all. Oh my goodness, one of my favorite movies from the 70s. And to date, Graves is only the second African-American woman to headline a drama series of her own on a network television. So now, one of the scandals, before we get into her childhood and beauty analysis and all that, I thought it was funny. I don't believe in it. I want to say that, okay? But according to the conspiracy streets online, you know, like Lipstick Alley and also the dark web, you know, and I do breakdowns for celebrities, I sometimes fall down that rabbit hole. Teresa Graves is said to be the real mother of Whitney Houston, as she is alleged to be a paramour of Whitney's dad, John Houston. Now, legend has it, and like I said, I'm going to read this directly from Lipstick Alley because these are not my own thoughts, and quite frankly, I don't necessarily believe it, but I'll leave you guys in the comment section to comment your thoughts. People compare their eyebrows. Now, they do look alike. I'll say that. In my opinion, they look a lot alike, okay? She has her sass too. If you watch the movie, I know Whitney was like a comedian of sorts. She was just hilarious, and she had a lot of personality. And Teresa was the very same. In her movies, her personality shone on the red carpets, the makeup choices, the hair choices, the outfits, how she spoke to people. She does remind me so much of Whitney, right? So they compared their eyebrows, their mouth, their jaw, their mannerisms, and their slim frame. Some found it interesting that Teresa stepped away from show business the same year Whitney signed to Arista Records. It's also interesting that Whitney had a breakdown around 2002 to 2003, which was when Teresa and John Houston died, about 6 months apart. Her dad and him, they both died about 6 months apart, right? Teresa would have been 14 to 15 years old when she gave birth to Whitney, which could explain the backdoor adoption, as John Houston was in his 40s. Somebody mentioned that Cissy Houston was on tour when Whitney was conceived in 1963. This would explain a lot about the quote alleged abuse that Whitney endured as a child and her struggles as an adult, end quote. Okay, now comment what you guys think. They're saying that John Houston found her, and that's kind of how she found her way to fame also. She got pregnant, gave birth to Whitney, and then, they adopted. That has, oddly enough, there are some breakdowns that I'm going to do for you guys this year. I cannot wait. Where oddly enough, there has been stories like that actually were true in Hollywood. And you guys have no idea how many people in Hollywood are actually linked together or actually dated each other. Like you guys saw in my Lola Falana video. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I'll put it in the end cards for you guys. She was just as gorgeous as Teresa Graves. I love her face. Also, she walked away from the industry also. But you guys saw how Sammy Davis Jr. gave her the big break that she got. And once she got that big break, we saw how she had an affair with him, right? It was on a hush hush. No one ever spoke about it. It came out way after, and people didn't really think they were an item. So a lot of starlets came to fame from being with a guy who's already famous, and to keep it on the hush hush, things that were going on, they'd help them reach it. It was kind of a sort of blackmail. Like influencers do it today, but not really blackmail. Like they'll get pregnant from like one night stand with the star, and now they blow up to fame or something like that. That happens more than we think. So it could be a possibility, but personally, I don't believe it. And I think the rumor only started because they do look so much alike. If you look hard enough, you can link anything together and find coincidences in everything. But what do you guys think? I'm interested to read your comments below. Now, as far as her beauty secrets and workout regimen, there wasn't none because unfortunately in the 70s, going back since like the 40s, you won't find much information on the starlets, the black starlets like that. They just weren't interviewing them, asking them for their beauty secrets, unless it was like a Dorothy Dandridge, or Lena Horne, who lived long enough to surpass that era and was able to speak up on fashion and things like that. So there was not much I could find on that. And I'm so sad because I really wanted to know her skincare. I really wanted to know her regimen for that because she just had flawless skin with and without makeup. And I wanted to know all that, but it's unfortunate. But as far as her beauty analysis, she always wore her afro, and she wore a lot of dramatic eye makeup sometimes, but mostly would go for the day-to-day natural look. She had a natural look, as we can see, but on the red carpets, she'll do like different types of wing looks and different hairstyles and colorful outfits. She lived a very private life, so she was mysterious and had a magnetic, mysterious charm about her. And her co-stars all seemed to just love her. Her agents, everyone who worked with her, even when she walked away from the industry, people were heartbroken, but they didn't hate her. They weren't like, how some people decide to walk away and it's like millions and they hate you and stuff like that. That wasn't the case for her. People only had positive things to say about her because she was just a sweetheart to everybody. Now let's get into her childhood. On January 10th, 1948, Graves was born in Houston, Texas, the middle child to parents Marshall and Willie Graves. Graves started her singing career in earnest with the Doodletown Pipers after she graduated from high school in 1966. In 1970, she also released an album under her own name. She soon turned to acting and became a regular in the two variety shows, Our Place and the infamous single episode of Turn On. In 1969, Graves toured with Bob Hope's USO tour in Southeast Asia. Graves later landed more acting roles, becoming a regular on Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In during its third season. Graves' superior officers in the 1974 ABC crime drama telemovie and later series Get Christy Love were played by Charles Cioffi and Jack Kelly. At the time of the show's debut, it was reported that Graves was just the second African-American woman to headline an hour-long television series, following Diahann Carroll, which I did a breakdown for her too. Love Diahann Carroll. She was another beauty. Julia's from 6 years earlier. Television's most lovely investigator, the embodiment of a tough lady officer, and more feminine qualities than Venus is how Graves was characterized in an article published in Jet magazine in November of 1974. It was so well received that a television series was launched based on it in 1974. But then she had this huge life change that nobody saw coming, and she quit her job for good. She was influenced by her Bible studying cousin Peggy to become a Jehovah's Witness. While she was in England in 1973 filming Old Dracula, Teresa became intensely involved in the religion, acting in the film by day and studying the Bible by night. After becoming a Jehovah's Witness, Ms. Graves eventually stopped acting because her new faith prevented her from continuing in the profession. She left Hollywood behind and went into the ministry in 1977, by which time her new congregation and neighbors knew her just as Tootie. Executive producer David Walper remembers that Graves came to his office and gave him a list of what she would no longer do as love, including knock off bad guys or sensually entice men. She was a super hip policewoman, but you can't shoot anyone or kill anyone. Can't have relationships with anybody and any violence. You can't do a police show based on that, end quote. Producers tried to accommodate her, but the series was dropped after one season, and this is via TV Guide. Her former manager, Bernie Brillstein, said this, and I quote, "Teresa was a star. She wasn't just another girl." He also said Graves decided to get out of show business a few months after Get Christy Love ended. "I wished her good luck," he says. "I was heartbroken because I hated to see her throw away what I thought she had, but she obviously found something bigger and better," end quote. That was her faith, a devotion to the creator that Graves told TV Guide in 1974 was her all-consuming passion. "Jehovah is first," she said. "My job is second," end quote. And this is via TV Guide. Almost immediately after her 1974 baptism as a Jehovah's Witness, Graves began using her fame to draw attention to the persecution of witnesses in Malawi under the one-party rule of then-leader Hastings Kamuzu Banda. Graves tied the knot with William D. Reddick on June 25, 1977 in Los Angeles. When 1983 rolled around, they decided to divorce. That was her only marriage. She didn't have any children. Now let's get to the sad death that she had. Graves spent the rest of her life in the Hyde Park district of Los Angeles, California at 3437 West 78th Street, where she also took care of her ailing mother. The house where Teresa and her mother were living caught fire on October 10th, 2002, and Teresa was trapped inside. She tragically perished in a fire started by a space heater, and neither the neighbors nor the fire brigade were able to reach her in time. She was trapped inside of a burning house and ended up passing out from all the smoke inhalation, like inhaling them, and she died from severe burns at the hospital, and from the smoke she didn't make it. I don't know, that to me is so sad because she was so young, and fortunately her mother did not pass away because her mother had a stroke just a few days prior and was still in the hospital, like recovering from it. When the fire happened, her mother was in the hospital. Thankfully her mother survived, but it's just so sad to me. Like, what a way to go when you're so young, so beautiful, so promising, right? They said the fire alarm and the smoke detectors went off, but she didn't hear it. It even went off outside that neighbors were able to hear it, but she didn't hear it because she was deep in thought. And some people, I don't know, think maybe what if she did it, you know? I don't think so. If she was like a deep Jehovah Witness, I know they don't believe in taking yourself out, you know, like that, but you never know. So she died the way she spent her final years, quietly, devoted to her religion, and without much publicity. A young 54 years old, Ms. Graves was still relatively very young. I don't care what y'all say, 54 is really young. And her poor mother, I wonder what happened to her. There's no information on that, like who was her caretaker. As far as we know, she was the only child, so I don't know what happened after that. Those who knew her personally at the time never knew she was a star. She never told them, and they only found out after her tragic passing when, you know, there was news reporters and articles and stuff. Everybody that was around her was shocked. Here's what Teresa's neighbor Joyce told TV Guide. She said, and I quote, "Where she lived most of her life was at the church. We talked in depth about her religion, but never in depth about anything else. She never talked about her career with me. The only time there was a discussion was with Bill, Willie Graves, Teresa's mother. She showed me a picture of Teresa with Marvin Gaye, and I said, oh, and Bill said, yeah, she was in entertainment," end quote. I'm glad that she found happiness, much like Lola Falana. They found fulfillment outside of the industry, because like I said, the industry is a pretty dark place that takes a toll on people mentally. And as much money and fame, and yeah, they're entertaining you and you're sad because you no longer have them to entertain you, but in the midst of them entertaining you, they're depressed, they're unhappy. A lot of them just are tormented and need a lot of substances to fall asleep at night. They're tormented, you know. And aside from all the other dark stuff that goes in on there, people rarely leave unscathed. They usually leave taking out their lives, or they fall off, and that puts them into depression. And so I do always love when someone willingly walks away from the industry. So kudos to her for that. But I am sad with just how young she passed away. I'm glad to introduce her to you guys. Comment below if you've heard of her before, if this was your first time. I know Gen Z, you probably don't know. I love bringing on people that you guys never expected to hear about. I love that. If you like the music you're listening to, the link is in the description. I love you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time.
Hey, it's been quite an experience meeting you all.